see that kind of like those little pieces of wood sticking up?
Yeah.
Yeah, just over there towards the moraines.
Yep.
That is the location of a previous weather station that was set up 60 years ago. And they were doing regional climate studies in this area starting in the 1960s through to the 1980s. And so it was some students' job to essentially travel to all of these weather stations, and everything was analog, so not using computers or digital, and so they had to read out the temperature on a thermometer. They had maximum and minimum thermometers, and they also had a hygrograph, which would give humidity, and that's kind of cool. It would use a horsehair, and the tension of the horsehair would essentially change based on the humidity. So the tightness of the hair would move a little dial that would draw on a scroll, and yeah, we actually have the papers for those scrolls still in our camp.
Cool.
Yeah, close to the ocean. And so we use these to measure kind of essential, what we call essential climate variables, like temperature, relative humidity, air pressure, incoming solar radiation. That sensor's up here. And then here we have an anemometer, which measures wind speed, and then a vane, which measures wind direction. And we have this little guy as well. This is a snow depth sounder. So essentially it sends a sonic pulse out, and it measures the travel time from when the pulse leaves the sensor, reaches the ground, and bounces back. So it's the two-way travel time. You divide that by 2, you get the travel time. And when there's snow accumulating in the winter, we get essentially the snow depth. So that's how we know the snow depth at different parts in the area. The whole thing is run on solar power. So we have 2 solar panels here, and then batteries in this enclosure and in this cooler. And finally, the new thing with these stations, which is kind of fun, is this here is a radio antenna, and that means that every day it sends the data from here to a relay station on top of that mountain called White Glacier Hill, and that radio sends the data to a station in our camp, which then sends the data to the cloud, and we receive that data at our lab at Queen's University. Ta-da!
So a little like the Hudson River in springtime, you really never know what's going to wash out of the nose of a glacier. This pole here might not be able to make it out, but on the end of it is written WG something, maybe a 1 there. So obviously somebody had a pole in the glacier for using as a marker, or maybe just as a drill. And that has obviously gotten lost at some point in somebody's research and made its way to the outwash. So who knows what's going to become of that. Some of us might be familiar with using the webcams to check traffic where you're going now. We can check the conditions at the zoo. You can check the conditions at the ski hill. Sometimes they'll have animals in the zoo where they keep a permanent camera on them. Here we have the glacier cam, as some of the scientists from the McGill Arctic Research Station are monitoring the condition of this glacier on an ongoing basis. So they've got their sight line here. Looks like it's trained maybe on the nose of the glacier. I don't want to get to one side of it because I can't tell which side they're observing. Oh, there's our lens there. Okay. And our projection out the back. So no visible instrumentation, but from what I understand, this is being wired back to the McGill Arctic Research Station, a short way off from here. The smaller tripod here, but it looks like they've taken the webcam away, so I'm not sure what that is. These look like they were meant more for lining up. So there is another tripod off in the distance, way over there. So it looks as though, just on the far side of the hill there, looks as though this tripod here and the one that we just passed with our camp way in the background there were meant to function as a line, probably, and then have the tripod there with the legs already anchored, ready to go, using this line as a reference point.